Welcome to Film Study, an All American Universe podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all of the wonderful things I say all of the time. Don't forget to rate the podcast 5 stars, all that great stuff. Today, we're talking about All American episode 518. There's only 2 episodes left this season 5, which is insane. But we're talking about 518. This is how you do it. And as a guest, I have Stef, my coworker and friend.
Woo woo! That's right.
And friend. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it. You ready? Ready to go, Stef?
Let's do it.
So, this episode was written by I don't think you know these names, but Rob Doty wrote this episode, and he's a staff writer, and also Obiageli Odemegwu, which I think she's pretty recent. Like, I think she's recently staffed because I know that she's written another episode before. And then Carissa, I am not even going to attempt to pronounce her last name, directed the episode. But why am I actually taking the time? Sometimes I do recognize who wrote it and directed it, but why am I taking the time to mention it here? It's because I was in this episode.
Woo woo!
Woo woo. So it was really interesting to be in this episode in the background. I was an extra in the background and just see how it all worked. So I'll be sort of interspersing thoughts about my time working the episode, acting, and my thoughts overall seeing the final product. But anyway, what were your thoughts? Rated out of 10.
I thought this episode probably had the most substance to it. The other ones were
Even out of the grief episodes?
well, no. Considering, sorry, because my short-term memory. Um, I'm one episode at a time. That's how I love it.
You
But
are, but in a while since
in
the
a
grief
while, yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah. That's how I
Yeah,
would phrase it. It was definitely the most substance in a while. There definitely was a little bit more to all of the characters in a sense. So I would give this an 8 out of 10.
I'm so glad you said that because I was gonna give it an 8.5, 9.
Oh my
But
God, I was
since
thinking
I
eight and a
was,
half.
but so, we were solid. If I wasn't in the episode, I would give it an 8.5, 9. But since I am in the episode, I'm gonna give it a 10. And it's just honestly, I feel like everybody ate, no matter how, no matter where you lie on the All American fan spectrum. If you're a Spolivia, if you're a Jordala, which those are I feel like the top two sort of fandoms. But I just feel like everybody got something in this episode. Even the football fans got something in this episode, and it felt to me apart from being in it, right? It felt to me like it was a return back to almost a normal that they haven't had since Billy died, and really since they've been away at college. I think that they've really struggled to sort of to balance everybody's storylines while they're away at college and still have
Mm-hmm.
them feeling on the same level. And I feel like everybody felt at the same, or on the same level, and they found ways to intersperse different people's storylines. And so I really appreciated that because I don't think that we've gotten that it felt like a high school episode in the
Yeah,
sense that everybody felt together,
for
at
sure.
least for me.
And I also noticed there was no crying.
That's true.
There was no crying in the episode, which I think, you know, I think that that's definitely something to it, right? Like the emotional side of it. Like let's make it a more happier, uh, kumbaya feel to the GAU, perspective,
Definitely.
and definitely
Definitely.
trying
I
to
agree.
take it up a notch and be able to go from the dark side of things. And but I loved how you said that, yeah, there was so much emphasis on Billy Baker. yeah, just how like the previous episodes are definitely really heavy realizations coming out of it, and then like this was the first episode that you get to see them do things on their own without really like coming back and asking for like advice.
Yeah, the weight of his death, which I personally have been not very pleased with the amount of weight that they've given this man, because I don't know if you know this, the audience does that listens all the time, but I was not a fan of Billy Baker. And so it's just been so frustrating to me that they've they've created a martyr basically out of this man, and I'm like, okay, we get it. We get it.
Yeah, but I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was great.
For sure. Also, I just need to let me up top just shout out. I'm gonna shout out the writing as we go because there's a couple of lines I want to focus on. But
OMG, I quoted things too.
really,
I have quotes in my notes.
we're
Ooh,
so
that
similar.
rhymed. Quotes in my notes.
Side note, I would literally be in her office like we're both done our work today. It would be like 11 o'clock, and we'd be like, "Are you done? I'm done too." Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do for the rest of the day?
Come up with little special projects.
Literally. Um, so let me shout out the director Carissa, because I can say like I know that she's directed episodes before because again I've seen her name before, but to meet her and engage with her, and again, like I didn't have lines, I didn't have any like major parts. When I was on set, I was doing like two scenes for an episode that was already being like shot and worked on and had already been being worked on for a while. And the fact that I felt very like important to the work that was being done as being an extra in two small little scenes, because of the way that she treated me as a director. And obviously she didn't know me, she didn't know my name, anything like that. In the way that she all just made us feel so comfortable and important and valuable, I think is really hard to come by, I think, on a Hollywood set. Like I do not think that that's the norm. And so I appreciate her for that, and I have a depth of respect for her for that. And in addition, just seeing how her vision came to life and seeing again, you can see I'm saying that she was talking to me. So her attention to detail, even with the extras in every single scene, could be seen in the way that she directs her work. So I really, really just appreciate that and shout out to her. And yeah, I will always be a fan of hers just because of that small, short experience that I had that day
That's
on set.
that's awesome. I have a friend that she works in movies like as a not a production assistant, but a little bit higher than that. And she just would always just tell me these things about like the director just like yelling at her and then like not
Yeah.
making things just you can see the people that were like the in group and being outcasted and just the stress of it all. It's just like at the end of the day, like you and I both know we're in the business of people, like you know they're our best asset, and if you treat them
You better
bad,
come through, talent.
let's go. If you if you treat them horribly, like they're not gonna want to do more for you. They're
Jack. They're not gonna want to do Jack.
no, and then everything is going to trickle down, and then word's gonna come out, and then there's gonna be this reputation, right? And it's like I love that you said that you felt seen, because
Mhm.
oftentimes like these are I mean, I think it's also coming out because of the current strike that's happening right now
Yeah.
with the writers and like the fact that like the fact that like things like this are still happening is just like it's insane to me. But like you felt seen, you felt like and you didn't have a major role. I feel like that's how every environment should be. But like
Yeah.
some of these people just get the
But it's
short end of the
not.
stick. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
contract to contract and you hope to get the next gig and the next opportunity. But yeah, I love that you got a great opportunity to be on set, and what like an amazing like thing to do. And then you obviously have your podcast. Like, what?
Yeah, yeah. And let me say this so I can answer sort of questions before I get them. But no, I did not tell people that I had a podcast because I had to work. I had a job to do, and it was crazy early in the morning. At least I think maybe I mentioned it to one person. Last thing I'll say on this, to your point about the director, in the all American world, there's a lot of opinions about the showrunner. And, you know, I've been on the side, I think, of defending her more than most. And this is before I sort of, I don't even think I met her. I just sort of observed her. She happened to come on set when I was on set, which I don't think is necessarily the norm always. Um, and just to see the crew's face light up, and they have such a respect for her and a love for her and like a rapport with her. And so that was really good to see and to witness, because I think being a showrunner is a very, very difficult job to do because you get everybody's opinions on every single thing that you're doing. And it's really hard to make an episode of television, let alone 20 episodes of one season. So shout out to NK. Shout out to NK for creating the environment that you then can get the directors that make the extra on set for some random scene feel important. And that's my little soapbox, and that's my spiel. But that's it's not typically we don't usually spend this much time up front, but I wanted to say that. Getting into the episode. Let's talk about whew, the football. We're gonna start off with the football. So
Let's go.
essentially, the new guys that we met in the last episode, what is it, Sal and
Was it Evan?
yeah, Evan was one of them, and then it was, I want to say it was Kai, but that was his son's name, Manu. Or was it Kai? No, I think it's Sal and Kai, and Manu's the kid, I think. But anyway, Sal and Kai and Evan are fighting because Sal and Kai are essentially people that got a second chance, and they're people that have lived some life. They're taking it more seriously, and Evan is sort of the one that Jordan had to introduce the little gritty dance, right? To get him to get him to take practice seriously. And so that's creating a little issue, a little challenge amongst the team between sort of the new guys and the people who are sort of legacy GAU students. Then Spencer, he gets in Evan's face, right? And then he backs down from a fight for like the first time ever. uh Coach Kitty gets mad at Spencer for stepping down from Evan, because he wants him to be a leader. I thought that you could add some interesting light to this discussion, given that you were a college athlete, because I know that some people, and I also struggle with this as well, is like, Kenny, that's your job. And like, why are Spencer and Jordan consistently kind of doing your job for you? So why are you like asking Spencer, oh, you shouldn't have stepped down. I expect you to be a leader. But I also understand that within football, there is that idea of vet guys and people that are leading the team to really step up and not back down. So I wanted to get your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on that, being a sort of professional college athlete.
I appreciate that. No, I think that honestly, like, we view this as if you kind of put in the perspective that, like, our coaches are our teachers, they're our instructors. But at the end of the day, the ones who win and lose the game are the players. So,
Mm,
you have to have a little bit of hierarchy within your little team or your organization. Reason being, because experience really does mature as you get older in terms of playing. And so Spencer and Jordan are a little bit, they're a little bit of an outlier in what I'm just talking about because they're like the star players. They're the ones who have all this
Being
hype,
freshmen, yeah.
being freshmen, right? They have all of this hype to their name. So they're the ones right now getting all of the attention. And so that's where the focus lies, and that's where I mean, it's where it's natural to be a follower in that sense, and so we're gonna follow something that's popular. So having, people that you could get along with, that you could, receive feedback from and take it is the ideal situation, and then typically it's usually juniors and seniors that are typically the ones that are the captains and such. But given the fact that Jordan and Spencer are the star players, they've proven themselves athletically, you know,
Yeah.
which is definitely something that I think trumps the typical junior senior captains. And so why does Coach Kenny, expect Spencer to step up? Well, because the players respect them. There's this respect factor. And in order to get all of this buy-in, you have to have this respect for one another. You have to, you hear them say, well, I'll die for you. I'll do this, I'll, take a bus for you type of like actions because they feel so ingrained into the game that they'll do whatever it takes. And so, and so essentially all that the coaches really are instructors teaching us how to become better athletes. But then, and within that, you start to learn different soft skills as well, but that you put into play with your teammates and you go through situations together. That's usually kind of what ends up happening.
Right. Almost like Coach Kenny is like a facilitator.
Yes.
Uh, Especially in this sort of college environment where it's not high school. This is the next level. This is the step before the pros. And so expecting, there's this idea I know in the NFL of just being a professional, right? And
Hmm.
like, if you're drafted in the first round, if you're drafted in the first round of the draft, like we expect you to step up and be ready to play. You're
Absolutely.
not the developmental guy that we got in the sixth, in the seventh round. Like we shouldn't have to sort of step you through this process. You should automatically be a leader, be a person that others look to, and be ready to play and ready to lead this team. And so that's almost like how Coach Kenny is looking at Spencer and Jordan.
Yeah, because essentially Coach Kenny just wants to figure out how to rebuild this program. You know,
Yeah,
that's what his job is. How to, get to the next year and be successful while still having this, this curtain of shame on the program. And so Coach Kenny honestly doesn't have time to deal with all
the
of
petty
the
arguments.
yeah, the nonsense that comes with just people growing up and not understanding
Yeah.
what's going on.
And to be fair, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like Jordan and Spencer did get the team into this situation because they are the people that invited the new folks.
Yeah.
But I too was a little annoyed at Kenny because I don't think that he's been doing his job, and I'm like, why is Jordan saving the team? Why is
Yeah,
why
no,
is
I
Spencer
feel
saving the
that.
team?
I feel that. And there is, to an extent, yeah, a lot of the things that Spencer had to deal with, like speaking with the president and all that, like, that should have never happened. That should have
Exactly.
always been, done with with the professionals in this
Yeah.
instance.
Exactly.
And so a lot of that really, like, that was too much pressure to be put on someone.
Too much pressure. Yeah.
And too much responsibility at the end of the day. Like, when we're running these, these are money making machines at the end of the day when
Yeah.
you're, these sports
Facts.
programs. And
Talk
so
about it.
it's like at the end of the day, like you can't put that pressure on one player, um, because they can't win all the games.
Yeah, exactly. And deal with all of the conflict and all that stuff. But to that point, Spencer does figure it out, and after talking to Alicia, and after talking to Grace, which two quick things I want to mention there. Why is Alicia volunteering the Baker House? Question mark. And also, I don't understand why Spencer was weirded out that he was called a leader because everybody's been calling you a leader since season one. That kind of
Yep.
bothered me. I'm like, stop acting brand new, Spencer.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, like now I have to do all this stuff. Like I just want to be
I'm just a
me.
guy. No, you ain't. You already know you're not just a guy.
You stopped being just the guy when this show started. Um
Exactly. Speak on it. Speak on it.
but yeah, I totally caught that. Yeah, but it's like why would you go to the ex's house? Like
I
what are
don't
you trying
understand.
to prove, right? Like it doesn't make
We're
any
gonna talk
sense.
about it. We're
Makes no
gonna talk.
sense.
Other than that, Grace had some kind of roundabout conversation for Spencer, talking about Micah and passion and conflict,
Yeah.
and it's because they care. I was like, this is kind of weird. Uh,
I think they could have
I
done
mean,
without that.
I think they could have. I understood like sort of the point that she was trying to make, but I also was just like, this is really convoluted. Like what you're saying, it actually doesn't make sense at all. But he takes that and gets the guys to essentially see that Evan also cares about the team and to understand like the mutual caring. Which shout out to that shot in the auditorium when they do sort of come to that understanding because that was a beautiful shot, just like of the whole team and then the full auditorium.
Yeah, that was real
Um,
nice.
yeah, when Kai is saying like, "Oh, this is a dope auditorium to be or not to be, homie." Like that was a great line from Spencer. And shout out to the writers. Um, we're gonna get back to Spencer, Olivia, Alicia, and that thing because that's gonna take up some time. But Asher, really quickly, and hopefully we can get through Coop and Professor too. But Asher and Jamie tell the group that she's pregnant. Slash JJ already told the guys. I have my thoughts on that, but we're gonna ignore that for a second. um, Number one, why were the girls so happy? But regardless, Jamie's sister was not happy, and she let that be known throughout the episode. She said it to Asher. She and Asher had a couple of awkward run-ins, and
Mm.
essentially, Jamie's sister Casey tells Asher that she has, not taken her meds. She stopped taking her meds. Um, because of her pregnancy. Asher confronts
Oh
Jamie about
yeah.
it. Jamie's just like, you don't get a say in this, and I'm not going to be afraid to stop living, and I'm tired of people controlling my life. So then Asher sort of talks to Layla and Jordan about it. Layla tells Asher that, Jamie knows what's best for herself and her body, and with, at the direction of her doctors. Um, and also like, she's also learned some things. They do need
Mm.
to have conversation and they do need to have good communication and keep those lines open because they are having a baby. But also it's not like she's not just doing this, like this is a learned behavior from a lifetime of not trusting people. And Jordan then says like, oh, one of the things you love most about her is her risk taking, XYZ. Anyway, ha ha ha, they make up, they move in together. Casey finally comes around when she's helping Jamie move in. So
Mm-hmm.
what did you think about that whole storyline?
Yeah. Well, Casey's attitude the entire time, I was like, ew, just stop.
She was a lot. She was doing a
It was
lot.
too much.
I
It
don't
was
even
too
think she
much.
smiled once in this episode.
No, not even when she was like, I think you're okay. Like when Jamie moved in. Like I was like, cool. Like, couldn't you
She
be
never
more
called
happy?
him a good guy. She was just like, "You're okay."
Yeah, she's just like, you're okay. But I
And I'm like,
totally.
"You should have met the season one
Oh
through
my
three Asher.
God.
That dude.
Ooh, that was.
Even a little bit of season four. Come on now."
Yeah. I would have definitely been on Casey's side, but no, I think honestly I understand both sides of it. And the reason why I understand both sides, his panic and his insertion of, no, we're doing this together, I think also it comes from the previous episode, I forget which one, where she's having like those heart palpitation stuff, like,
Yes.
and she keeps pushing through it when she should have got checked out, I think.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like I personally would be a little traumatized, and it's from experience. I've had various back surgeries, and my significant other, has been a little bit, hesitant when I do certain things, because they're coming from a place of love that they don't want us to be hurt again. They don't want us to be back, back in that pain. So I see Asher's side of it. Now I totally see Jamie's side of it because it's her body. At the end of the day, she's not gonna put herself in a situation where she's gonna make a stupid decision. Like, she clearly said she was consulting her doctor. Like, she's going to the
That
doctor.
part.
She's, like, obviously you're going to a specialist and you're speaking to someone that has the factual answers versus just going like, I'm just gonna not take my meds and
Yeah, it's not like a regular run of the mill doctor. Like it is her doctor who specializes in lupus, like you say.
exactly, and it's something that I personally relate to because I have to take medicine every day, and if I stop taking it, there are consequences. So it's like, you gotta trust her. You know, there's
Hmm.
there's more to the story. I think that Asher could have been like a little bit more sensitive to all of it, but he also is just scared.
Yeah, I don't think he should have called her reckless.
Absolutely not. That is not the word to use at all. That is definitely like, I would have been triggered right there and be like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah,
Um,
literally.
like, you gotta check yourself on that one. But
And that's why she was about to dump him.
exactly. It's just like, I don't have time for this. Bye. Um, no, I think that like it's just coming from a place of love on both sides. Now, I think that like you said earlier, Jamie is coming from just a place that like, you know, of not being trusted, right? And so like there's apprehension to things and like she's not gonna do something it's been shown, right? If she's not wholeheartedly into it.
Hmm.
This is a lifetime kind of commitment and it kind of reminds me a little bit of A Walk to Remember.
Yes, love that
When she
movie.
says, "Promise you won't fall in love with me." Um, Anywho, but like a little bit of the dynamic in that sense of like terminal or not terminal illness, but like a
Very serious
very
illness.
serious.
Yeah,
There you go, very serious illness.
life altering. Yeah.
Yeah, that comes with the the significant other having to do um, medical things, like having to help them out with that type of stuff where normally you wouldn't necessarily think of those things. So you don't want to be a burden, I think, at the end of the day. And I feel like that maybe is where she's coming from too. It's like, I'm gonna take care of myself.
Mm, yeah.
I got
Yeah.
myself.
Very independent. I agree 1000% with you in saying that I understand both sides. And actually, earlier when, they had one, a disagreement about that earlier, I found myself surprisingly understanding where Asher was coming from then too, and also understanding Jamie's end of it that like it is her body, it is her, she's consulting with her doctors and not to like do things in sneaky ways and not to not trust her. And that is where I think Asher steps over the line. But I also understand his end of not necessarily stepping on the line, but the very legitimate concern that he has because he's like, are we yo, I'm assuming we're building a life together here.
Hmm. Yeah, like I feel like
And I
there
think
was a skip of a couple little steps there where like the emotional
literally
relationship like went from 0 to
exactly.
60 real fast.
And it's very interesting because I feel like in the in the show and a little bit about how they've been presented this season, and how I think like some of the actors in the show have talked about them. It did feel like they skipped a lot of steps, because I just, I always thought, I was just like, I don't think we've seen enough of Jamie and Asher to sort of believe that they're automatically like maybe like the healthiest couple on the show. Like I never sort of bought into that idea, and now I feel like they're grounding them as a couple
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, because we're actually seeing them work through challenges, as opposed to being presented with Jamie and Asher are good and they've been, together forever. Like, no, that's
Yeah,
not the
they were
case.
definitely creeping in the
It's
background for sure with that relationship, like
exactly
growth.
like we all we know is that they Netflix and chill. Like, let's be for real. But they're cute and they have, they've overcome a lot of stuff. But to that point is, it does seem like they're building a life together. And so I think, you know, I think Layla summed it up really great when she said, like, you should trust her to make her decisions for her body with her doctor, and like the knowledge that she knows. And also like being real, like y'all finna have a baby, even though I don't think that they're gonna have the baby. But y'all finna have a
Ooh.
baby, and we're good to that with predictions. But and if you're gonna have this baby and share this baby together and take care of the baby together, you have to communicate. Like that is very real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's part of the immaturity of the relationship and the
Yeah,
age of it, right? Of
definitely.
not understanding that this is not that they don't understand, but I think completely understanding the fact that like this is something that is going to bond you for the rest of your lives, whether you stay together or
Exactly.
not.
That. When Jamie was just like, "Oh, I don't know if we should move in together." I'm like, "Well, it's not like you all are not
Yeah,
together
like
like already. So what sense does it make?
yeah, it's like
Like if y'all having a baby."
yeah, it makes no
Maybe
sense.
that's just me,
No, it
but I
makes no
was just like,
sense.
Jamie, I just need you to be a little bit more real. I need you to be a little. And she came around, right? She was just like, I need to learn.
Yeah.
Sort of, I've been, again, because of my sister and my family trying to control my decisions, I'm just a little bit more wary. So, again, I appreciated that they took them through that process and we got to mention that, even though I think that too many scenes were dedicated to this storyline. For my taste,
I
I think we
think
could have
so
got,
too. I agree with you 100%. I think it should have been just as long as Jordan and Layla's.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But again, they figured it out. She's moving in, which Jordan and Spencer said that it would make more sense for us to save money if we moved in here. I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know if I buy Jordan and Spencer being cool living with a newborn. I'm sorry. So we'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long that
yeah,
lasts.
they don't
But
know what
again,
they're getting themselves into.
but anyway, Coopin the professor.
Mm.
Listen, say this at the top, but I'm going to say it right now. The only time I look forward to a Coop story is when I'm in the background acting.
You're too much. And I love me a good Coop story.
Oh my gosh. So I love that you love it. I love that you love it. Listen, I'm loving me a good Coop storyline this time.
Look, there's definitely been a wazoo of transformation, and yes, I use the word wazoo, um, because it's a little quirky part of me, um, of transformation of her character. Like, I
Definitely.
totally did not see it taking this route, although in hindsight, bad girl turn save the world. It makes sense.
It
It,
does, but I'm not going to get into my Coop rant today. All I'm gonna say is that the professor is coming for
mm,
Coop again. The other episode, he was telling her, you have a spot in my class, but you need to fix your language. And this time, he was nitpicking her language as she was presenting, calling her messy and everything like that.
yeah.
For those asking which scene I'm in, you can see me. This is not the only scene I shot. One of the scenes got cut, But you can see me when Coop is talking to him about the fact that she doesn't appreciate him calling her messy and nitpicky. I don't think anybody except me and maybe people that know me and see me every day would be able to point me out, but I'm around the pillar in the back of them.
Nice.
um, but anyway, talking about, how he was nitpicking that, how she didn't appreciate it, that drawers are made up of people like her. And then he retaliates, right? He retaliates and essentially says that she sits her down to not present in class. Sky, who's been giving Coop advice, guilty advice because she kissed Patience in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Sky gives her advice and says, like, was a person to encourage her to talk to him. Says, professors can't do revenge. Nice little Netflix reference there. Um, and essentially, they try to figure out how to sort of handle this professor situation while Sky is trying to figure out, I think keeping the secret from Coop, who ends up finding out anyway because Miko, they don't know it's Miko, is sending them the video
Mm-hmm.
messages of Patience and Sky kissing, or Sky kissing Patience. Then Coop gets all upset in the last scene and it's just like, why did you call me out of the blue? It's because of this. It's because of
So
this. And it was
dramatic.
so funny. It was so dramatic. And what made it so funny is how small the phone is compared to like the lens of the camera, because it was a very sort of like, it was almost like it wasn't a profile shot. It was kind of a wider shot. So Coop, like, one of my favorite parts was when Coop like turned the phone around so that the video could go full and then was just like messed up her face to say, and I got you. I was
Yeah.
like, what is this?
Oh man, that whole development was like,
The fact that we as an audience had to watch the orientation of the phone flip sends me, instead of it just being flipped on a,
that's too funny.
it's so uncomfortable because it's like these are things that we do in real life, but we don't expect to like watch TV and see the phone like flip.
Uh,
There's always a delay. Anyway, I just, obviously I got a kick out of that. That was really funny to me. But what did you think about that? I'll say this because again, I don't want to get on a whole Coop rant. I appreciate the messiness that the patient's kiss brought to this story to spice it up a little bit.
I think
So,
so
what were your
too.
thoughts?
I think so too. Obviously, there's Sky coming back because she's guilty because she got rejected. She was like, I gotta go to
Yes.
Plan B again, and like she got caught. And then she's like, oh, like no, I didn't do it. Like, come on, girl.
But also, Coop cheated on her. Let's be for real.
Yeah,
As well. Patience getting all the women, like I said.
I know. Patience is just can't resist her. Tell ya. But okay, Coop and the professor. I I just can't help but see this as the professor trying to assimilate Coop to the status quo in term
I agree.
in terms of his delivery, in 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 the words that he's using. Granted, his delivery sucks. Like he totally needs to like figure out how to speak to people. Needs to also figure out how to speak to people um, of different backgrounds, I think, because there's an importance, I think, to how someone speaks.
To black people, he was being microaggressive,
Yes,
which is aggressive.
yes, totally. And it was just like, yeah, he definitely would not do that to anyone else, and he totally showed it. He's like, all right, you can't take it. And now, what do you mean you can't take it? Like, what is this? The professor is just crazy. Like, you can't take this. Like, what's his? He has a vendetta, clearly. He has a point to prove.
And again, I hate when it happens where I have to agree with Coop, but it was so disgusting that he used the word messy because I think that's racially coded language, right? Like
Absolutely.
messy, you can't say, in what world can you not say a lot? That's getting ridiculous at that point. Or, it's talking,
And
saying
her
the word
posture.
slang, or you're using street slang. And so it was definitely, I think, racially coded language that was being used. And if you look in the background, you see that the class was mostly white folks, and so it was interesting just to see how that all, I think, shaked out.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see, because to up until this point, he's been presented, I think, as essentially an ally for Coop, essentially.
Yeah.
Letting her sort of sit in on class, when I didn't think that she deserved to be the person that got chosen to sit in on class, but letting her sit in on class, continuing to sort of challenge her in a good way, and
hmm
challenge her to continue thinking and to continue coming back with
It
better,
looked like it was going to be a
like more,
mentorship a
yeah,
little bit.
mentorship. And now, over the last couple of episodes, is him trying to, like you said, make her assimilate, instead of, again, sort of taking into consideration her differences, thinking like, the world is more than what law historically has been.
Exactly. It's evolving.
To Coop's point, there's jurors that are made up of people like her, and also there's lawyers that are made up of people like her.
Exactly.
So to have that greater conversation, but it definitely looks like he's on his villain tip for now.
Absolutely. Like, you brought her in, now you want to, like, wring her out in a sense and make her quit. Like,
Yeah,
what's the whole point of it all? But who knows? We shall see what ends up happening.
we shall. And it's also interesting because it's like, has he done this to other people before? Like,
Yeah.
this is where I'm like, y'all can make this super super interesting to say, does he think of himself as a white savior, and really he's just trying to like assimilate people into his style. um
Or is he
yeah,
just being a hard ass because he sees potential
that
and
part,
doesn't know how to speak to Coop?
that's also very valid. Because the class, like her classmates, seem to love her,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
they.
everybody loves Coop. I don't know why. I need some of that Coop magic. Shut up, Olivia. No, you don't. You don't want any of that Coop magic. Ugh, don't get me started. I need to move on. I
Let's
need to
do
move
it.
on to people that I love.
Let's give them more love.
I need to move on to people that I love, two couples that I love. Thanks for listening to the first part of our discussion, and stay tuned for part two, where we talk about Spencer and Olivia and Jordala.